Hello and welcome to Hey, I Loved That Movie, the podcast where we rewatch the films we loved when we were younger to see if they still hold up. I'm Dan.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Helena.
And for this Twitter voted episode, we watched Bruce Almighty. Well, what was you guys' history with this movie?
I'll go first. I'd never seen it before.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
I kind of don't
defeating the premise.
I don't really like Jim Carrey too much.
Oh, thank God someone else said it. Someone else said it before me.
I know he's beloved and whatever, but yeah, I can find he's just a bit much for my delicate British ways.
He's too American.
Yeah, that definitely put me off ever seeing it, and also I think it's been on TV loads, but I've never been tempted.
Yep, this is fully a TV movie. This is a Channel E4 Film 4 movie.
Had you seen it before?
Yes, a lot. I watched it a lot as a kid before I realised how boring Jim Carrey is. And then, yeah, I haven't seen it in a really long time, actually. Like, this is one of those films that I just completely forgot existed. But I also assumed that everybody had seen it.
Yeah, this was one that I definitely saw a lot, like as a kid as well. I'm pretty sure it was in that totally legal file of DVDs. And yeah, I watched it quite a few times, and then yeah, it has. I mean, considering this film is now like 20 years old, I reckon it's easily been 15 years since I've last seen it.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, I've seen the sequel, I think, more times, just because that happened to be on TV more.
Yeah, I've definitely seen Bruce Almighty come up on the TV guide more.
Yeah.
I nearly watched Bruce Almighty as well, not as well as this, as in I thought that it was Bruce Almighty first.
Wait, what?
Do you mean
Evan
Almighty,
Almighty, even.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have seen Evan Almighty once. It is terrible.
Is it worse than Bruce Almighty?
Yeah, by like a landslide, it's
Okay.
worse. I mean, like,
Yeah.
Bruce Almighty.
Don't you also hate Steve Carell? Has any one of your hated people?
But yes, but he's also just. I feel.
Isn't he on your hit list?
Yes, he's on my bad list. We all have it. Everyone has just actors that you can't stand for reasons you cannot describe. I refuse to accept that there are people out there that don't have those actors. Steve Carell is one of them, but also it's a bad film. Evan Almighty is bad because they tried to do what they did with Bruce Almighty. Just again.
Yeah. I kind of figured that would be the plot of it when I finished watching Bruce Almighty.
Yeah, the plot of the second one is that they're like, you're
Joan of
Noah,
Arc,
you
no.
have to build an ark.
Oh, is
Joan
it?
of Arc. I got Joan of Arc.
Yeah.
I'd watch that.
No, yeah, I'd watch it.
Steve
Wow,
Carell
fighting for
is
French
Joan of
freedom.
Arc.
Yeah.
At the end, he gets burned on the stake.
Just people watching it like, this isn't at all like Bruce Almighty. This took a real hard turn.
Steve Carell, you can't go to war. You're but a young woman. Morgan
Yes.
Freeman's told me to.
Dressed as a woman, dressed as a man.
And I'm sure he'd do a terrific French accent.
Hmm.
She was French,
Oui,
right?
bien
Yeah,
sûr.
yeah, she was French. But yeah, she was. Yeah, Evan Almighty's bad.
Yeah. Okay. See, I thought Evan Almighty was the first one because it makes more sense as a title.
Yes.
Does it?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
Heaven
It's
instead
it's
of
Heaven
Evan.
Almighty in a
no,
Cockney
it's just the
accent.
guy's name.
Yeah, no, I realised that. Like I said,
Annoying.
I'd managed to totally avoid even talking about these films with anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a surprise because this is definitely one that has like a good few quotable moments that everyone at school used to seem to say a
Oh,
lot.
right. Okay.
That I remember.
Yeah.
But this film is weird. They also definitely started writing Evan Almighty when someone, whilst they were making their film, went, Evan Almighty? Where they named one of the characters Evan and then went, oh my god.
Or they saw that Steve Carell's career was taking off and they were like, shit, let's make a sequel.
Let's,
Go.
let's jump on it nearly 8 years later. So, Bruce Almighty. Let's talk about the one we're actually talking about and not the film that we've all kind of seen. Bruce
so,
Almighty.
first thing that really shook me, his wife is Jennifer Aniston. Well,
Yes.
partner is Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, he's a well, I've written down he's a news anchor, but he's not. He's like a
He's a reporter.
news
Yeah,
correspondent. He's a
Yeah.
reporter. Yeah. He's dating Jennifer Aniston. He's like in line for a promotion. He's doing all these
He's a- yeah.
different things.
He's doing a lot of local feel-good news articles that he doesn't really... He knows aren't, like, big picture, groundbreaking...
Yeah, and none of them ever go out. None of them really go out on air,
Yeah.
do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, it always seems to be the other people that get their things taken
Well,
off,
'cause
taken
A bit
up.
more serious.
Yeah,
And
because his opposition is Steve Carell, who plays Evan,
We-
which we talked about more
Yes.
so far.
which is that, like, so Evan Steve Carell's character Evan, he's portrayed as an arsehole. Like, we're told he's an arsehole, but he's never
Yeah.
that much of an arsehole, right?
No, he just is the opposition. Like, there's the main arsehole bit is he essentially steals Bruce's like
Does
unaired
he?
line.
Yeah, that was the
on his
arsehole
first,
bit, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah,
But that's about it.
yeah, because Bruce is meant to be getting the live news anchor job.
No, he's
and
not.
he's just been
He's not meant to.
Well,
get it.
he's-
he just assumes
he's
he will.
he's in line for it. Yeah,
Like, that's
and he's got a live report at the Maid of the Mist, which is at the Niagara Falls.
yeah.
And yeah, it's like his first live report, and literally just before they cut to it, they announced that Evan is now the
And it's very
new
clear
full-time
that
news
Evan,
anchor.
the reason that Jim Carrey got to do the live report is so that Evan could be in the studio to
yeah,
receive,
yeah,
like, to-
exactly.
announce that. So it's kind of like he was so excited that he got a live gig
Yeah.
when actually it's a smack in the face.
And then he just has a breakdown.
Yeah,
on
and
his
oh
live
god, it's
report.
hard to watch.
Mm,
Like, it's one of those things where because it's Jim Carrey, it just goes too far and it's boring by the end of it. I'm just like, okay, we get it, you're upset. But it's that childish humor where it's like,
Yeah.
well, if I keep doing it, it will get funnier.
yeah, whereas it would have been funnier if they just ended it with "Back to you fuckers" even sooner.
Yeah, like Back to You
Yeah.
Fuckers was a pretty good like ending line. Like, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, like there was some good bits in it, but it was all
Mm.
the whole like breakdown scene was just took
Hi-
so long.
Him berating the old woman is funny. Like, it just the
Yeah.
way he was like, "Oh, great." Should have just ended it there. There was no need for him to like go around and get everyone. Could have just left it at that. But he's not right. Like, I don't at all at any point feel sorry for Bruce.
No, me neither.
But I don't know if you're
No,
meant
he's just
to.
really self-centered.
He's an
Very
arsehole.
self-absorbed.
But it's like, oh, but Steve Carell character is an arsehole. Evan, we've cleared that up. We know his name,
Yeah.
Evan. Evan, like you're saying, Evan's a bad person. It's like the only really bad thing he did was steal an unaired line,
yeah,
which is like an arsehole thing to do. But we don't like. It's like he took his job. Like, it's framed as like Evan took his job. Did he? Was
Yeah.
he just offered it? 'Cause
no,
he's
exactly.
better?
They were just both in the running. Yeah, but I mean, the point of the movie is that Bruce has to not be selfish. So,
No, I know,
Um,
but I'm like at this point,
but yeah,
like Evan is framed, but Evan's framed as a bad guy, so later on you don't feel sorry for him when Bruce is fucking him up, and it's like, it's just annoying. I just don't like Bruce in this film. Even at the end, I don't like him.
Yeah, I don't think we're necessarily supposed to like him at the start, but again, because it's an American film, it can be really hard to tell sometimes because they really pushed like main character must be goofy and lovable.
Yeah, he's like somewhere between, like, because you kind of have to feel sorry for him for the rest of the film to make sense.
yeah,
You have to be
Yeah.
like, oh, it's awful, but I just at all don't feel sorry for him.
So he loses his job and then he goes to
he sees like some thugs bullying a homeless guy, and so he like tries to back him up, but then as they're walking away, he's like, "Yeah, you better keep walking," and then they just come and beat the shit out of him.
Which he then immediately
trash his
blames
car.
on the homeless person.
Yep, and he's just having a breakdown, calls his life mediocre, to which Jennifer Aniston is very upset, which is very
yeah,
understandable.
no, he's
because
basically she's like, well, do you mean I'm mediocre? And he's just like
yeah,
basically says, yes, you are mediocre. Yeah, which is a
He
horrible
says-
thing to say, but also fucking hell, it's Jennifer Aniston. Like, she is hot.
yeah.
She's absolutely not mediocre.
And this is like 2003 Jennifer
yeah, this is
Aniston.
peak Jennifer Aniston. But like throughout the early part of the film, he's just everything she does, he belittles.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
really like well written.
Because
in
she's
that,
a
like-
she's a
a
primary school
teacher.
teacher.
yeah.
So, which is like probably one of the easiest professions to like belittle when actually it's really
Yeah.
hard.
Genuinely thought you were gonna be like, which is like one of the easiest jobs.
Nope.
I
taught some children for
Yeah.
3 weeks, and
Yeah.
that was enough to solidify that I will never teach.
I mean, I can barely stand like adults most of the time, and they like are meant to understand how to socially interact with people.
I've talked a little bit about
Yeah, they're
when I
supposed to
did the
have
primary
empathy.
school work experience, right?
No, and now I really want to know.
Yes, I did. I am. I mean, I wouldn't want to bet money on it now, but I would bet it's more likely that I've talked about this and you've forgotten than that I've not talked
Rude.
about this.
Fair, but rude.
Yeah, I was going the amount of times we've forgotten details of films that we've literally just seen.
Hey, we somehow remembered most of Evan Almighty.
That's true, and you didn't even watch that for this. So,
No.
Okay, I had to do work experience at a primary school, because I forgot to set anything up, and that was pretty much the only thing that the school could organise for me on short notice. The kids were sweet and everything, but the thing that really shook me and really put me off was when the teacher, we were just talking about like, I think it was talking about knits, because I was just saying, my mum always made me keep my hair up when I was at school, like I had to have it in braids, and she was like, oh yeah, to be fair, because I think she had quite long hair, and she was like, you just sort of end up getting immune to things like knits and worms.
Oh no! What?
Oh, nice.
And I was just like,
Immune to worms isn't one I've heard before.
yeah, like thread worms. That's the one that little kids get because they chew their nails after wiping their bums.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't know that, but thank you.
Mm. It's one that I'd much rather not know about. It was when when you think knits is the worst thing you could catch at a primary school, and then a teacher tells you that, and then you look it up, and then you're like, I'm not touching anything
Yeah.
in this room ever
Exactly.
again.
Yeah, no. Gonna sanitize everything.
So
Now I'm going to climb in a bath of sanitizer.
yeah, it really. I mean, now I work with vulnerable adults, which can also involve quite a lot of gross things, but not worms. That's not something that's really come up. And oh god, I couldn't imagine working in a primary school. Jennifer
No,
Aniston does a
definitely
pretty.
not.
She like seems to do a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does. She's also quite a religious character as well. Like she's pretty much always got these like rosary beads.
Every character
She
in
prays.
this.
Yeah,
Praise
that
the
was one thing that really
Yeah.
stuck out to me. That I don't know why I wasn't expecting it, but everyone is super Christian.
The religious overtones of Bruce Almighty.
Yeah, I know it's dumb, but it was like that
Yeah.
the bit where he was like, "Oh God, smite me down," is like
Yeah.
blaming
'cause
God,
he-
like, "Oh
he-
God, oh God, why?" It's like, but most people start blaming other things as well.
Yeah, well, I think the point was that everyone was telling him that God should make things okay if he prays, and then it was still getting worse and worse, and so it was just like, fuck everything. Although for some reason, one of the like scenes that sticks in my head the most is when he's driving along and he's like, "Give me a sign," and just a truck full of signs drives in front of him. Like, I don't know why that's just always stuck in my head.
There's some dumb jokes in this film. This is the
There
era of
really
dumb
are.
jokes.
Like, dumb jokes, but a surprisingly little amount of oof jokes as well.
Yeah, it's not aged horribly in that respect.
Yeah.
It's very much like you watch this film, you're like, this is like every film that came out at this point. Like, so there are
It's
so many
very
films that have
clean
this
and
vibe.
tidy,
Yeah.
with some comic, like some poop jokes and funny noises and God,
I mean,
no sex.
probably the worst bit is a bit that we'll get to soon. But
Yeah.
I mean, you say no sex, but he does make Jennifer Aniston orgasm. So
With his
Yeah,
godly
with all
power.
her clothes on
With
in a
his god
different
powers.
room.
Yeah.
yeah, good point. Yeah, a scene that I definitely didn't understand as a child.
Very Christian. This, but it is surprisingly
That all
Christian.
Christian women come in a separate room from their
Yeah.
husband.
Both of them fully clothed.
Yes. Have you asked Jesus for permission?
Every Christian couple is the throuple. This film is surprisingly Christian though. Like you do forget that it's everyone talks a lot about God all the time.
Yeah, I can understand. Like, it seems it's necessary in a
Yeah.
way, but at the
It
same
feel-
time, it's really heavy-handed.
The thing is, I know a lot of America's very Christian and like
Yeah,
it was a lot more overt back then. I'm wondering if that's just how people talk to each other in America, and it just doesn't translate well.
When did this film come out?
2003.
Like, I feel like the average Christian is more the average American is more like overtly this kind of Christian than like the equivalent over here. Because even like I know priests that aren't as like vocal about it like than this film. So I'm just wondering if that's just a bit of like cultural thing that just doesn't translate well.
Yeah, possibly.
Because it feels really out of place. But
It's hard, yeah, because in England, no one,
really
apart
talks
from
like
your
that.
real, everyone's got like the one weird religious family member.
Yeah.
Then they're the one that will say things like "Merry Christmas," but they'll say, "And may the Lord bring you a joyful 2023," and you're like,
Okay.
Okay.
Good for him then. Yeah. Yeah, everyone has that one person who just like they get it in there just so you know. So Jennifer Aniston gets angry at him because he's being an arsehole.
I feel
and
very
essentially-
bad
Yeah.
for Jennifer Aniston in this film.
Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah,
does
she
nothing
deserves so
wrong in
much
this film.
better.
She does.
Like, she'd just been broken up by Brad Pitt. Now this. Was
Yeah.
that 2003? I don't know when
Don't
the timeline of that happened.
I don't know.
Anyway, so yeah, Bruce like drives off. He ends up crashing his car.
Yeah.
He's getting really annoyed, and then his like pager goes off, which is the main thing that ages this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like his little beeper, and he just like ignores it.
And it's a
but
number
it
that's
keeps going.
555-1234, I think.
0123.
Oh,
yeah.
123, yeah.
Which is, by the way, a real number.
Oh.
They checked. Apparently, they checked like where they were filming. They checked if it was a real number locally. It wasn't.
I
However,
thought all 555 numbers were for television use.
Apparently, it was a real number they used, and it got in certain areas. In England, for example, exists and is in Manchester and is a sandwich shop. But it's also the number of a church somewhere in America. So there was a lot of people calling it. Apparently, there was a lot of they got a complaint because a lot of people were calling those numbers and asking to talk to God. Which I imagine if you're a church and you're not aware that Bruce Almighty exists, just being like, well, we can't do that.
So apparently the phone number was changed.
Was it? Oh, okay.
So it was originally 0707, yeah, 776-2323,
Ah,
and then they changed it to the using 555.
because they got complaints.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they got complaints because when they use a real number, one of them was a church.
Yes, yeah. It was a pastor from Wisconsin.
Called Bruce, I think, is what I read, which is great. But can
That'd
you
be
imagine
fantastic.
being a pastor in a church, not knowing that Bruce Almighty exists, and then someone calls up and goes, "Can I talk to God?" You're like, we can't do that. It's too much.
Apparently he'd reply, "No, but I can take a message."
Amazing. Oh, brilliant.
That is a good reply. Yeah.
So Bruce, gets annoyed.
Yeah, he like throws the pager out of the window and it gets run over.
This is
and
like
then
the next
it still
morning.
keeps ringing. Yeah.
He throughout this, by the way, he's got a dog that keeps pissing in the house.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Keeps pissing on the chair.
It's really not hard to potty train a dog.
But
Like
also,
dogs don't want to pee inside
They don't. And do you know the main reason the dog is peeing inside?
because they're not taking him out for walks or showing him any love or affection.
But yes, that. But also, he's in a house in America, which is directly onto the street, which is directly onto a road, and they're like, go outside to pee. Do you leave the door open? Where is he going to? Because I keep carrying him outside, and like, oh, he needs to pee by the tree outside. If you don't let him out, he can't go out to pee. It made me so mad.
It's it's really frustrating because it's like, okay, but if you don't take your dog out, it'd be annoying. Like if they'd shown them like just getting back from a walk or like standing by the lamppost for ages and then going back in and the dog immediately pees on the sofa, it'd be like, okay, that's annoying.
But yeah, they're just not taking him out, not letting him out, and unless they leave their front door open, which I doubt they do. It just made me really angry once that hit me. I was like, how dare they?
Yeah, very annoying. I'm team dog. They're
I
just
am,
giving him god powers.
Because it doesn't give it to, but it does. The threequel is the Dog Almighty.
Sam Almighty, because that's the name of the dog.
But like he trains the dog to like pee outside by the end of the film because that's one of the things that needs to get finished. But it doesn't matter if you train the dog to pee outside if the dog can't get outside.
Yeah, what you need to do is
No.
train your dog to tell you they need to go outside or have them
Yeah.
on a schedule.
Yeah, it's not hard to do the dog. Bad dog ownership, man. It gets me real angry and anything. But so yeah, he goes. The pager. He goes to get to the pager. The pager's still going even after it's been hit by a car. So he's like, "Fuck it." He goes to the place.
Yeah, it's like offering him a job, and it's like specific to him.
Yeah, for our younger listeners, what a pager is it tells you someone's trying to reach you and it gives you their number, and then you can call them back.
Yeah, we say that as if any of us have used a pager.
We've watched enough
Just
pop
know-
culture to know what one is, but there's a good
Yeah.
chunk of people I think that would not know what the pager would have done.
No, we saw the same with PDAs. We know what PDAs are. Never used them. Anyway, so he goes to the
Yeah.
building, which is just this tall
Yeah.
white building.
Which the name of it completely went over my head when I'd seen it before, because it's just called Omnipresence,
That is a good name.
which is a good name. And yeah, when he's on the way and he just steps in this huge fucking puddle,
Yeah.
and he's like just getting so annoyed.
Soaks half of his leg.
Yeah.
And then we get to the important bit of the film, the first big bit.
The first oof.
The first, yeah, gets inside.
Yeah, it's just like a huge white room.
Huge white room. Meets Morgan Freeman working as a janitor.
Yeah, because he's mopping the floor.
Yeah. Then he's like, "What floor do I go on? 7, blah de blah."
Because
Sure.
there's a sign that says what's on each floor, but each floor is just, and this is on 7, and this is on floor 7, and this is on floor 7.
So he goes up to 7, and as he's leaving, the janitor says like, "Oh, can you help me mop the floor?"
And he's like, sure, I'll do it on the 7th of the
7th,
7th. That's 7.
Which it's meant to paint him as like, oh, a good person would have been like, "Oh yeah, sure." No, they wouldn't. I think it's
No, that is.
Like,
Pretty
sorry, I've
You are the janitor, my man. This is your job.
It's a pretty reasonable, especially if you're going somewhere as well. You'd be like, "Oh, well, I don't want to be late."
or wet and smelling like.
Maybe after I've done this job interview.
Yeah.
Like,
I mopped the floor the other day at work because I'm a good person. It's not my job, but it was my
No.
client that spilt beer like everywhere. So
Right, but it's not like you were like on your way somewhere and someone stopped and was just like, "Hey, that's unreasonable."
yeah, no, it's very unreasonable.
Be a good person, but that is an unreasonable thing to do. But yeah, then he meets God, who is fixing a light bulb. Morgan Freeman is God, by the way, in this film.
Yeah.
Don't know if anyone knew that. I feel like I remember Morgan Freeman's. Was Morgan Freeman famous before this movie?
yeah, he was in loads of things.
Yeah,
So I only remember him and like recognize him as the voice of God.
Yeah, I think this is one of the main things, and it is mainly from his voice. Like, I think the only movie that I can think of before he was in a lot of action movies. I know he was in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, but yeah, he was in quite a lot.
Voiceover stuff,
But-
but I only really remember him.
Shawshank
Yeah, as-
Redemption.
As God.
Yeah, Shawshank voiceover stuff. But
Yeah,
even
that's
that,
a good point. Yeah, you know that really famous, really well-loved movie.
even that. I still
Yeah.
go like when I think of when someone says
Bruce
Morgan
Almighty.
Freeman, my reaction
Yeah.
is voice of God.
You see, I've heard him being
Mine
called the
is
voice of God.
Vitruvius from the Lego Movie.
See, I knew it was the voice of God. I actually didn't know it was from Bruce Almighty.
He suits it though. Him in his white
But yeah,
suit.
he is.
He's God.
He is God, and he's like proving that he knows everything about Bruce.
Hmm.
And the other gag I remembered is it's all in that filing cabinet,
And it's quite a small
and it's just
cabinet.
one small. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he opens it, and it just like flies across the entire room.
Yeah, which
Yeah,
is
not practical. God needs to digitize.
Yeah, we've seen why that's a problem later.
Mhm.
But yeah, so he offers you can be God for a bit.
Yeah, because at one point he said that like God could fix his problems in 5 minutes if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So God's like, well, go on then. If you think you can do it all, then you can have the powers of God as soon as you leave this building. But he doesn't entirely believe him at first.
Well, no, because you wouldn't, would you?
No, he'd be like, this is just some crazy guy. What the fuck?
But he walks outside,
He walks outside and just walks across the puddle because he just walks on water.
Yeah.
and then spends the rest, and then we get like the
Yeah.
series of montages.
Yeah,
Of
so
him
the
being
first
God.
bit is where he's like, "Oh, if that was God, I'm Clint Eastwood," and then he just goes like full on Clint Eastwood, like
Turns to Clint Eastwood.
with he's got a gun and he's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, that was the thing
then
where
he-
it was
yeah.
like it was kind of funny, but then they have to do the recall because a reoccurring gag is the funniest kind of gag, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, I got it. It was a funny bit, but now it's just dumb.
Yeah.
It goes too far.
Yeah, I do really like the scene where he goes to the diner though, and he's just like messing with things.
It did make me, it made me laugh when he causes that, like all the napkins to go flying,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Yeah,
what is he up
'cause
to?
Because he just like splits the soup.
He
like,
parts the red
white
soup.
Yeah, I like the bit where it's like, "Excuse me, I need a spoon." Just a spoon.
That was
guy just
revolting,
leaves.
but it was quite funny.
Yeah.
The dude just leaves.
Um,
By the
There's
way,
just that one old guy in the diner who I recognise and I have no idea where from.
yeah.
But yeah, he's just like, "What the fuck is going on?"
And that waitress
yeah,
so
he-
earnestly pushing soup.
Yeah, like, please, I made it myself. Have the soup. She made too much soup, is what's happening here.
They told that actress, you want to really sell the soup, and she made it into like, if you don't have this soup, I will die.
Like, he said no to the soup, and she still brings him the soup.
No,
That's how-
he's like, fine. And she takes that as,
Yeah.
fine, bring me soup.
Yeah, she earnestly sell that soup. The soup needs to
Yeah.
get to the table.
So yeah, God appears again after he's split the soup.
And he's like, that's a magic
and he's-
trick.
Kind of explaining everything to him. Like, you left before I could tell you the rules. Like, right, here's what's going on.
Yeah,
Um,
which is, you do whatever you want, but you cannot control other people's free will.
Yeah, you can't control free will. There was like, I thought there were 2 rules, but no, it was only that one, wasn't it?
I think so. I can't remember what the other rule was.
It can't have been that important.
Yeah,
Then.
I think it was just you can't mess with free will.
Yeah, and then Bruce says, "Oh, can I ask questions?" And God says, "Yes, you can," and then leaves.
He fucks off. And then we get the dodgy scene.
The first thing he does with his God powers is be a perv.
Yeah.
First thing he does is blow wind up a woman's dress and looks at her. And
Yeah.
it made me so mad.
Yeah.
That is just the cringiest shit. That is the most early 2000s movie shit. Of like, look, it's funny, he's perving on a girl. Like, no.
It's
Yeah.
like, it's funny and relatable. Every man wants to do that. Ugh. Just, ugh.
Yeah, it was creepy.
But luckily,
Creepy.
yeah, that passes pretty quickly.
Yeah.
He gets a new outfit. And then he sees the thugs from before.
Yes.
Yeah, this scene
Um,
was weird.
Yeah, this is
Scene was
probably the
fun.
weirdest scene in the movie.
Yeah.
Where he like tells the thugs that they need to apologize, and he's like, "A day a monkey comes out of my butt, that's when I'll apologize." And he's like, "Well, today's your lucky
Today's
day."
the day.
And then a capuchin comes out of
The butt monkey.
this guy's butthole.
The butt monkey.
Everyone's favourite TV monkeys.
Yeah.
Yes.
And everyone else runs away because he throws bees at them. And then, like, I don't like how well Jim Carrey said the line, "Hello, anal-dwelling butt monkey." I don't like how
It was
well
very
that
well delivered. It's
came
time
out.
for you to go home.
I don't like how like fluently the term anal-dwelling butt monkey came out of his mouth. Not happy with it. I never want to
I
hear that
really
phrase.
hope that was the first take.
Yeah.
as well.
It's such an awful conjunction of words. It's terrible. And then he goes back
Yeah,
up
it's just the fact that he's like, right, time to go
to
home.
go home, back up.
It,
And
it,
it
to
just
me,
runs
it
back
sounds
in.
to me now like a Reddit username.
Right?
Yeah.
Anal-dwelling butt monkey. And
That
then,
was my early 2000s Xbox game.
then he goes back up the dude's butt.
Yeah.
Which, like...
The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, I
Well,
guess.
first of all, the Lord taketh away, and the Lord giveth back. But-
Neither are good. So he's
So-
in his Old Testament vengeful God phase.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I know this is gonna sound fucked, and it is a. Just because my brain's curious, I just want that monkey's not going inside him. Like, at what point is that monkey god powers disappearing?
I think at
Yeah,
the
otherwise
at
he's just
the
gonna get
limit
eaten.
of Bruce's imagination.
Hmm.
So
So
how
that's-
far into a man's butt can you imagine a monkey getting?
Quite far.
Well, then I guess it went quite far.
I guess once the tail's in, it's gone.
Oh, so you think it goes in tail first?
That's still
No,
enough to
I
kill
no, I
someone.
mean once the
Oh.
tail's in as well as the rest of the monkey.
Yeah, I imagined a
just-
sort of swan dive.
Although it did come out head first, so unless it turns around in there,
Oh no.
maybe it
Breach.
does.
But that's my question. Do you see why the question's important to? It's not important to know the answer, but why there are so many questions around the anal dwelling butt monkey.
Hmm. And all
None
of
of
them
them.
disgusting.
None of them we want answered. None of them are worth asking. So after I can't remember what happened after that. I was
So after this, he
focused
goes back.
on the butt
He goes
monkey.
back to. He goes to apologize to Grace, who is Jennifer Aniston's character's name, and he's bought her some like flowers, which are ones that he's made up.
Yeah. Today's
And then he's wanting to make it like a nice night, so he like wipes away the clouds and then pulls the moon closer.
Yeah, there's a couple of references to It's a Wonderful Life
Hmm.
in this. So the first one is subtle, where it's like he lassoes the moon
Yeah.
Yeah.
for her, which is a line from It's a Wonderful Life, and then It's a Wonderful Life plays in the background, which I was like, well, that's less subtle as a reference. But yeah, like this whole he lassoes the moon.
Yep.
He starts talking to her. They like get kind of horny, and then she's like, "I need to go and freshen up," and then he basically just makes her come in the bathroom from where he is, which, as we discussed before, is as all religious people do.
I
It's one of
don't
the Bluetooth ones.
I don't know what I don't like that is something God can do. Don't know how I feel about that.
You don't pray for your cums?
I don't ever want it to be referred to as that before, ever. I don't think anyone wants it to be referred to as that. That's not a word you can use in that way.
I mean, to be fair, this was probably like, early 2000s. It was still in the where is the clitoris kind of phase. So,
God
Yeah,
can
every
find
man's dream to make his white partner come without actually really having to do anything.
yeah.
it. But I don't like that. I don't like that God's powers are passive and does them accidentally throughout the film. Don't like that.
Yeah, so that we'll jump over the awkward, weird sex theme, and then the nice. Oh, and then they wake up in bed together the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they wake up, and then she's watching the telly, and they're talking about a freak tsunami tidal wave that's destroyed half Japan.
Yes.
It's like, well,
I wonder how.
because he pulled the moon closer.
Bruce wakes up to headaches with like loads of
Yeah.
voices in his head, but that goes away. Yeah,
And then he makes the dog go to the toilet in the toilet,
which
and it's
terrifying.
funny.
And then we have this annoying scene with Jennifer Aniston being like, "Did my boobs get bigger?"
It completely unnecessary.
And it's like a long scene, and she's looking at and talking about her boobs.
It's so weird.
It's
and
so
complete-
2003.
completely unnecessary because it never comes up again.
And like her boobs are,
No.
to be honest, normal sized.
Yeah,
It would be funny if it would almost be funnier. Still bad, but if she had like comically large boobs or something.
but then you'd have to wear like whatever in for the rest of the film.
Well, he could probably realise he'd fucked up and like shrink them back down again. He's
Yeah.
God, after all.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be less exciting if the rest of the movie was just her complaining about back pain.
Yeah, and him feeling a bit guilty.
it's, like every single thing he does has like a consequence later on. That's the
Yeah.
consequence. Although,
But
yeah.
what he starts doing then is godding, using his god powers to make himself a really
A
good
better
reporter, because he
journalist.
keeps on being the first on the scene, because
Yeah.
obviously he's the one causing the various things, like an asteroid lands and
Yeah, and like a dog digging up the dead body of someone who I'm assuming went missing a long time ago.
Or
Because
he just killed using his god powers. Put him
Yeah.
there.
maybe.
or created as a dead corpse. Dead corpse.
Because they do say like a specific name as
Yeah.
well, and I'm like, that wasn't in the movie.
Well, yeah, but they were
previously.
saying he
That's
was
not like
found
a-
with his birth certificate and dental records.
Yeah.
So he killed someone. God killed someone. Put him there.
God kills people every day, Mikey.
Yeah,
Part
but
of
not
being
like
God.
targeted specifically to make
I
someone
think some
a
people
better
feel pretty
journalist.
targeted.
But yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, like Bruce.
But so that scene with the when the dog finds it, because that's him being like, I'm going to be a better journalist because the dog finds a dead body,
Yeah.
and then so there's like no actual journalists who are for some reason laughing at him, and I don't get it.
I think because they knew he was like they knew about his broadcasting breakdown and were giving him a bit of shit for it.
True. So he locks their stuff up when the body's found, and asks a kid to like hold the camera, which is number one really funny because it means that kid has to hold it at like arm height. You have to like hold it up.
Yeah, just put the kid on a box.
But then he like he does like the joke thing where he blows into the eyepiece.
Yeah.
As like it's like an instrument. Don't give the fucker pink eye. Don't spit into the eyepiece.
This kid's gonna get worms.
This is how you get, as Eleanor said. This is how you get worms.
Kids are disgusting.
No, that's Bruce. That's not the kid. Don't spit into the eyepiece. It just made me angry. It just got me really annoyed. It's not how you look at it. You're going to ruin it. You're going to get it behind the glass.
It's going to be like a smudge on the eyepiece and you're not going to be able to tell if it's like,
But it'll be on the inside of the eyepiece and you're never going to be able to fix that. Don't do that. Yeah, that's my little...
Yeah, because...
And then he plants a shit ton of marijuana. The most kid-friendly drug, I guess. In the van.
Oh, no, this was early 2000s. This was the devil's lettuce.
Yeah.
This was evil, evil, evil back then. This was before people realised there were, like, worse drugs. This was the height of the badness. So that's quite bad. Also, like, that's a lot of cannabis. They're going
like
to
that
jail
was a
for
lot. Yeah, he didn't go
very
in
long
halves.
time.
Like those people are going to prison for like a long time.
He never fixes that. He fixes everything else. He never gets them out of prison.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe not Martin Luther.
Morgan Freeman.
Martin Freeman.
Martin Freeman.
Martin Freeman.
Maybe
Yeah,
the
he
Hobbit
gets
comes
them
and
out.
saves them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have
because then the other thing he does is like make the meteorite strike, and that also fucks up a bunch of stuff. And then he's like getting progressively better, and then he goes to make Evan lose his job, which I mean, it's a funny scene, but
to be fair, I enjoyed Steve Carell in this bit.
Yeah.
Because he basically starts fucking with
his voice.
What's the name of the screen thing? As well?
Auto prompt.
Yeah. So he's like fucking with that at first. So he's like reading weird shit, and then he just makes him talk absolute nonsense.
And then he loses his job.
Yes.
At this point, he's just called, like, he's being called Mr. Exclusive because he's the one getting everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he's sort of welcomed back to the station.
Yeah.
To do whatever shows he wants to do.
I can't remember what order. When do they go to the party? The party.
Oh, that's a little bit later, because just after this is when he takes Jennifer Aniston on that fancy date.
Yeah, so
he thinks
finds
he's
out.
Propose.
He finds out he's going to be an anchor.
Yeah.
Is it anchor? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he takes her out to a really fancy. Takes her out for sends her off on a spa day with a pal, and then takes her out for a fancy dinner where they first met.
Yes.
And she's gearing up for a proposal.
Playing. Like actual Tony Bennett as well.
But instead he just tells her that he got news anchor, and she's like just annoyed at how selfish he is.
He's an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
That's not important. That's not like you need to go out for a nice dinner to tell people that. You tell people that and then go out for the nice dinner to celebrate.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he's like, and you've got to throw me a party to, like, celebrate?
Yeah.
Which was just, like, the icing on the shit person pudding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's like,
and
fuck you, and leaves.
Yeah. He leaves because he starts hearing the prayers again.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And it's like making his head really loud. So then God tells him, they go to Everest, God tells him about the prayers. He makes some post-it notes and stuff. And then he eventually compiles it down into emails.
Yep.
Which there's that bit where there's that gif of him typing really fast, and then he just makes them say yes to every single thing.
Yes, because he can't be asked to read them.
But only Buffalo.
Yeah.
He's only answering the prayers in Buffalo?
Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise it would have been too much for him.
He's like, Bruce is like, I can, which is like, okay, this is quite clever and like good bit of like character writing, and I actually quite liked it when Bruce said on Everest, he was like, I can help the world. I can do good. I can help the world. And God says, that wasn't the world.
Yeah.
That was just Buffalo. And it's like, oh, he's breaking down Bruce's ego so hard, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, he's soft parenting.
Gentle parenting.
gentle parenting him into being a good person, which I don't agree with. Adults, you shouldn't have to gentle parent adults into being good people. But that's beyond us.
Yeah. And then it's the scene where they have the party for him being a news anchor. And everyone's kind of talking about how these weird things that they wanted have started happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that he's just like pouring water into wine as well.
Yeah,
That was
that
so
bit did
good.
make me laugh. That was funny.
That was so... Because I didn't notice... I had to go back and like rewind it a little bit.
That's the
was
sort of thing that might have gone over my head as a kid.
Yeah, that was really good.
And it's good because they don't make a big deal out of it.
No, it's really subtle. It's him walking up some stairs with a bottle
He's
of
got
water
a carafe
pouring
and a
into
wine
wine.
glass. Yeah.
Yeah, and it pours it out into wine. I don't know how they did that.
Same
in terms
way,
of like,
it's a miracle.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty
he
sure they
actually
didn't actually do
had
magic on
God's
stage.
powers.
Maybe
there was probably like some dye in the
yeah, you
in
put
the
some
glass or something.
dye in the glass and
Yeah,
like,
it was
Dunno.
cool though.
yeah, no, it worked well.
It was like a on camera because if it was a visual effect, it would have looked terrible. It didn't, so it was practical.
Oh yeah, it wasn't just like a hazy sort of red highlight around the glass.
Yeah, because there are visual effects in this film. They're bad.
Yes.
Luckily, they're few and far between, but they glare when they're out. But yeah, he goes to the party. The other anchor tries to sleep with him.
Yeah, she's like hitting on him, and he
she
kind
really
of wants
can't
Grace
take
to
the
go to
message,
the party.
and he's trying to get Grace to come to the party. He's like, it's his party, but he sat on the bed in the hotel room, like calling her, trying to get her to come out. But obviously, she's still pretty wounded.
Yeah, and she sat on what looks like the most comfortable sofa ever made.
And she's Jennifer Aniston and can do better.
Yeah, she can absolutely. She can do. Jennifer Aniston can do better than God. Is what we're saying. Which yeah, she can.
You can do better than this god. Anyway, this girl like comes and he gets the dog to like give her a sign.
Yeah, which he plays the film on the TV. I just had a thought, and it just hit me like a truck halfway through my last sentence. Do you reckon Jesus in this world, Jesus was like Bruce?
Maybe.
I don't think he was as selfish as Bruce.
No, but do you reckon he was? No, but like before he was given the God powers, do you reckon he was like Bruce? And God was like, "You take over for a bit."
Does that mean Bruce is the second coming of Jesus?
Yeah, or third, or we don't know how many there's been.
It really depends on who you ask.
God just out here taking vacations all the time.
Yeah, like, you do Buffalo.
Jesus just turned it into a cult. It was weird. He had followers. It was odd.
I
Sorry, that thought did hit me like a truth. Like,
I do quite like the idea of like Jesus being really self-centered and like it's making you laugh. Yeah, like, there's a good bit. Like that
Great.
needy, constant reassurance of being the best.
Yeah, but he was God's chosen. Bruce's God's chosen. But yeah, so he goes to the party. The woman tries to.
Well, she gives him a smooch, and like he doesn't push away very like at all quickly enough,
No, not at all.
and it's gross. And then that, of course, that's what Jennifer Aniston sees. Don't care what her name is. She's Jennifer Aniston,
Jennifer.
Yeah.
So
she breaks up with him and drives off.
which I think is fair.
Yeah.
And he he tries to use God magic to try and get her to love her, and she's
Yeah, and now we get to the psycho part of the film. Is Jennifer Aniston having a breakdown part of the film?
Yeah, and also the whole of Buffalo is having a breakdown because everyone's prayers came true. So everyone won the lottery, and they won about $17.
So there's riot. There ends up with riots and stuff, doesn't there?
Well, also,
yeah,
like,
because I think the Buffalo team also win, like, is it football or baseball? I don't fucking know.
And like half the city's power's out because of a meteorite.
Yeah.
Which like would have affected globally.
Well, it could have been just a small one.
It's big enough to be like, oh, look at how big it is.
True.
I think that would have been a much bigger problem than just, oh, a local newspaper finds meteorite that just hit the Earth.
Maybe.
Because it hits whilst he's there.
Yeah, they should have all been like covered in
Dead.
dust
Dead.
at least.
Dead. But yeah, so he stalks Jennifer Aniston using his god magic. to try and get her back, which is creepy.
There's lots of creepy stuff. So it's like on the TV channel, it's like, and here's the TV, get the classics of all you need is Bruce, and Bruce all the way, and Bruce still loves you, and forgive Bruce, and
yeah, because he can't manipulate her free will, so
he's trying
he
to
ends up with trying.
Subtly.
He ends up trying to, doesn't he? Because he confronts her at her preschool, her primary school, or whatever she's. Couldn't tell what age the little gremlins were. He like tries to like, no, you will love me,
and she says,
and she's
yeah,
like,
he's just shouting "love me" at her.
Yeah.
and she says the best line, which is, "I did."
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Burn.
That felt so good.
You
when
done
she
fucked up, Brucey.
said- Why she loved him, I don't know.
Yeah, no, me neither. He was sort of a mediocre news reporter with low self-esteem
And anger issues.
and a rubbish dog.
No, the dog is fine.
I knew that.
Been through this. The dog is fine. It
Nah,
hasn't
dog's a
been
piece of
trained
shit.
properly.
Dog's
No,
doing it
how
on
dare
purpose to spite Jim Carrey.
How
So now we know what Michael's version of Helena's Pinballs and My Fish Keeping is.
it's mistraining dogs. Mistraining dogs in films. Oh god, you should watch me go off on Cujo. The dog is fine. Doing
Cujo?
his job, protecting the house.
Is that a film or a dog?
It's a film about a dog.
It's a film about like a murderous dog.
Oh, okay.
It based
not
on a
seen it.
Stephen King book, and it was the book where Stephen King said he's going to give up cocaine after writing it
Okay.
because he wrote it in like half a day.
Oops.
Yeah, that was the book that made him give up cocaine.
It was good value for money, though.
I mean, it was also like one of his most successful books ever.
People love to
No.
hate dogs.
People love big dog that kills people, mostly kids.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a weird film. It's a weird book. It's a Stephen King book. They're all weird. Bruce Almighty.
Yeah, he essentially goes to God, and God essentially tells him that people have the power to do what they need instead of asking God for it.
Yeah, it's more like
Yeah,
where you can
right.
inspire them, but
Yeah,
they're the ones that do the heavy lifting.
so Bruce kind of tries to be a good person. He helps a guy whose car's broken down. He
Without
trains the dog to pee outside by like taking the chair outside and then slowly removing bits of the chair.
Again,
So instead of
fucking
it's like
something.
instead of magicking the car to
dog.
start or the dog to pee in the toilet, it's like actually putting in some
he uses his
lasting-
human powers.
yeah
hmm
the powers he had all along.
Yeah, because God says like the people don't realize the benefits of a day's
And he's
hard
like, who
work.
have you helped? Who have you actually helped?
Yeah, and he kind of realizes how selfish he's been.
But again, if you don't leave the door open, training the dog is pointless. I need to one more time. Needed to say it.
Yeah, he essentially like Grace's sister tells him that she's been like praying for Bruce each night,
Yeah, so he reads
and he
the
goes
prayers.
and he like reads her prayers and then realizes that actually she's praying because she wants to stop loving him, but she still does.
Yeah, so a lot
Yeah.
of the prayers, and it shows what sort of person she is as well, is that she's praying for him.
Mm.
A lot
Yeah,
of people, and
yeah, she
obviously
wants him to
Bruce
have
is
a good
very
life.
much like, I'll look out for me, bless my mummy and daddy, but I want to win the lottery. But she's actually like, guide Bruce, he's struggling.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And then the last prayer is, I don't want to love him anymore because it hurts too much.
why he loved him in the first place, we do not know. But yeah, he makes it up to her. He does a load of good things for her.
well he goes and he's like, I can't remember what he's saying, but he ends up like kneeling down in the middle of the road, and then he gets hit by a truck.
Yeah, and God is like, you're dead. You can't see him.
And God's like, God says that he can give him whatever he wants, and he says that he just wants Grace to be happy, whatever that means.
Yeah.
So it's like he's kind of accepting that maybe he isn't that great for her.
Yeah, finally.
But when they resuscitate him and he wakes up in hospital, there's a callback to a plot line that we forgot to mention, which is that he doesn't like the idea of giving blood.
He also belittles
but-
her for giving blood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
when
yeah, I meant
she's
to say
got, like,
this
a rare
film
blood
is
type.
like
Yeah.
really pro giving blood.
Yeah.
You know what else? What other films really pro giving blood?
Dracula?
Wakanda Forever.
Right.
I've not
Yeah.
seen it. But when I went to give blood earlier this month, I got a Wakanda Forever give blood sticker.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm guessing that was probably because of Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah,
So
probably.
they're also trying to
Yeah.
get more people
Young people.
from ethnic minorities to give blood.
Can you imagine getting a Dracula sticker?
I told you about the phlebotomist in the hospital that used to take my blood when I was in hospital.
I mean, probably, but now I want to hear because I mentioned Dracula.
So,
was he
His
His
like?
name was Dr. Acula.
Didn't you-
and
was
he
he-
was.
Was he from Transylvania? And did he?
I mean, you're both terribly sexist. She,
Gee, sorry. Well, no, I was going on
yes.
Dracula. Dracula. I was describing Dracula.
yeah, she was the phlebotomist, and she just lent into it. She had on her lanyard for her carrying her badge about. It was vampire themed. It had little like Dracula teeth all over it,
Oh,
and she was like,
cool.
"I just leaned into it at this point because everyone calls me the vampire." Because like all her,
Cool.
entire job was to go around taking bloods from
Nah.
patients.
Nah, second thought. On second thought, that's exactly what a Dracula, what a vampire would do. That's
Yeah,
100%.
She
Make a joke
outsmarted us
out of it.
all.
Yeah, that's 100.
I didn't even
Did you-
need my blood testing.
Did you ever see her in the day? Did you ever see it in direct sunlight? Did you ever see
I was
her
on a
reflect-
lot of pain medication when she was around, to be fair.
Perfect
so
place for a vampire
maybe.
to hide. Absolutely
Exactly.
perfect place for
Yeah.
vampires to hide.
Did she use your blood to make a flubber like I imagine a phlebotomist does? Because I
Oh,
hadn't
the
heard that word
gory,
before.
the gory version of flubber.
Flubber, but it's just a big blood clot.
Flubber but red is it's the
That's
same
it.
thing. Just leaves marks
Anyway.
everywhere. So yeah, he wakes up. She's there because he has the same blood type as her.
Yeah.
So
which
they
is
did a direct transfusion,
hmm
which is
Yeah.
rare.
Yeah, they fall in love again. He goes around. He fixes everything. He goes around and gets. He quits his job.
Yeah, he starts reporting on the fun stuff again, and
Yeah, tells Evan he can have his job back. He just sort of fixes everything apart from the people he put in prison for a very
Yeah.
long time.
yeah,
Yeah, but they probably get let out on the new laws when they legalise marijuana. So
That's true. So like 10 to 15 years later.
yeah, and
Get
I'm
let
sure
out.
they'll be fine and not at all scarred or traumatised from their time in prison.
Yeah, no, not at all. And the final thing he does is he does blood drive.
yeah. He gets engaged to Grace, and he starts like promoting giving blood. He does like a story on it and stuff.
Yeah.
It's which I found really crazy because in the UK, one of the main things where you cannot give blood is if you've ever received blood or blood products. And I was looking up because I was like, that's crazy, because I thought we have a pretty like solid reason for not doing that.
Mm.
In the US, it's three months after your last transfusion you can give blood.
Yeah, America has some weird blood donating rules.
But to be fair, they probably wouldn't take any of our blood. So
Well, they won't take my blood anyway. I know
Aw,
that for certain.
you got yucky
Laws.
blood.
Laws need to change. Laws need to change. Anyway, so this film, what did you think? Because I think it held up 90% well.
Yeah, I like from memory, like the jokes I remembered, like I did really enjoy. There was like the couple of like oof bits, but
Oof.
yeah, overall, like this holds up as like just an overall like pretty good comedy movie.
I think Pretty Good's pushing it.
Yeah, it's aggressively family friendly.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
incredibly mediocre.
As someone
It's
who hadn't
not-
seen it before, didn't hold up,
No?
obviously.
Yeah.
It was fine, but I did I remember, like after hearing the concept as summarized by my husband, when the film ended, I was like, is that it?
Yeah, it could be better.
It's not big enough, if that makes sense. Like, oh wow, he's got god powers limited to Buffalo.
Yep.
And he still kind of fucks it up, and it's just annoying that instead of it being about what could happen if a man gets the powers of God, it's how can we fix Jim Carrey's narcissism? And I'm like,
Yeah, how
I
can
didn't
we...
care,
Jen,
because I don't
how
think
can
I didn't like him. I didn't particularly want him to get better, and I didn't particularly want him to get back with Jennifer Aniston, and those are kind of the only stakes we're given in the film.
Yeah, I wanted Jennifer Aniston to leave him.
Yeah, but like, it's cool that you got to be God for a bit, but actually fuck off.
Yeah.
The planned sequel that didn't happen sounds way more interesting. Have you ever heard of the sequel that didn't get made?
No.
I feel like I've vaguely heard of it, but I don't really remember.
So it's called Evan Almighty.
No, the one that didn't
And he
get
has to
made.
make a boat.
Brucifer.
Now that sounds
That
better
sounds way-
already.
Because I think what I was feeling was that this felt like a toned down version of The Mask, because it's all
Yeah.
Jim Carrey is a normal / whatever bloke, bit of
Yeah.
an arsehole, and then he gets superpowers, and then he's really cool and can do anything he wants, but
So-
it just doesn't go to the lengths of The Mask, so it just falls
Yeah.
a bit flat.
So the storyline to Brucifer sounds way more intense as well.
Hmm.
As what's described, Jennifer Aniston's character dies. This is after he's been God for a bit. Jennifer Aniston's character dies. He goes to hell to talk to Lucifer, and then he gets Lucifer's powers, and then resurrects Jennifer Aniston.
Hmm.
Which I can't imagine that in the same sort of quirky, funny tone.
No, I imagine that's quite dark.
Because the only way that can end, if it ends anything like this one, the only way that can end is killing Jennifer Aniston again.
It's just them both going to heaven, I guess. I didn't
like,
realise he
that's-
kept his Bruce Almighty powers at the end of.
No, I don't think he does.
No.
I think after
Yeah, I don't think he does.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool, that makes sense. So he
But-
just gets them again. Like, what does Morgan Freeman want? Another holiday?
What, Brucifer? No, he goes to the devil.
Oh, okay. So how does Bruce get there? Just
I don't know.
oh, okay.
They never
fair.
actually
Highway.
released the script. This was just in an interview. The writer was talking about it.
Oh, okay, fair.
But yeah,
Well, I
they
wouldn't
were
watch it.
I don't understand how you can have that ending not just be really depressing. Of like
yeah.
Bruce understanding. I mean, like as like a film that understands like coming to terms with grief and stuff. I feel like it could be really fun, really interesting. I can't
But
imagine
as a
this.
film that possibly ends with a joint suicide,
Well-
probably not.
Well, just coming to terms with grief is a really good message to have. I just can't see it in the same tone.
No.
Because that storyline's really good, where it's like someone made a deal with the devil to bring someone else back to life, and then but eventually has to say goodbye to them because it's not fair. That's so cool.
It reminds
quirky,
me of.
quirky Jim Carrey though.
And who would play Lucifer in this? Because
Martin Freeman.
of course.
Yeah, you have to be. You have to have a Freeman surname to work in. In the heaven,
So-
in the biblical stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it held up. I think it held up well. Like it isn't oofy. It isn't bad. There's no like weird transphobic joke. There's no real like homophobia. There's no like overt racism.
I mean,
Well, there is,
apart
actually.
from
No,
the
there
fact
is.
that it's Morgan Freeman, and he does like almost a minstrelly thing at the start.
Yeah.
It's really cringy.
Yeah, but there's no like moments where you're like, well, there's some. It's not as bad
Well,
as
it's
other
the
films.
it's the wise black character.
Yeah.
And making the for no personal gain, making the
Yeah.
white character better.
It's no worse. It's better than a lot of other films that came out around this time. But yeah, it's an okay movie.
Yeah.
I think out of 10, out of 10.
Well, I mean, I was going to go for 6 out of 10 anal dwelling butt monkeys, but
Good
That's
delivery.
awful. Yeah, you said that too fluidly. It's terrible. I don't know. Out of 10, what he did a lot of. Out of 10 catastrophic disasters that Bruce Almighty caused to the rest of the world that we don't get to hear about.
I think I'd give it
So like 5, 4, 5.
5. Yeah, 5 piss-soaked sofas. It
That
just
apartment smelled
it was
terrible.
fine, but the more I talk about it, the more I was like, some of the jokes were funny in the moment, but I even had like the benefit of watching it with someone who liked the film,
Yeah,
like having my husband sort of laugh along with me.
yeah.
Makes it's one of those films that I think you have to watch it with a group. Like watching it on your own is just a bit, no offense,
Weird.
guys, a bit sad.
You know it is. Well, there's no need to watch this film. Like,
No.
there is absolutely no need to watch Bruce
Yeah,
Almighty.
this is one that could be like lost to history.
Yeah, no
It's
one ever needs to watch
absolutely
this film again.
No tragedy and no loss to humankind. No
It
offense,
may-
Jim Carrey. Actually, some offense, Jim.
No, some offense, Jim Carrey. Most offense, Jim Carrey.
well, with all of that offence to Jim Carrey,
Yeah.
I've been Dan.
I have been Michael.
And I've been Helena.
You can find this podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Hilton Pod. That's at HILTM Pod. We're on Discord as well, so you can come and tell us what you thought of Bruce Almighty. And we also have a Patreon where you can support the show. And what are we going to be doing with the Patreon this week?
We're going to kill God.
I've got the power.
What?
It's one of the songs in the film.